Hey guys, what would it be like if you could last 10 times longer when you're having sex?
We are going to teach you how to gain massive confidence as a lover, all without performance anxiety, gimmicks, or prescription.
This course is perfect for you if you've ever been mortified by a sexual encounter that ended way too early.
Or if you've ever avoided intimacy out of fear that you won't last as long as your lover desires. Or maybe you long to give your partner multiple orgasms but can't last long enough to make that a reality.
Well, good news, we've got your back, and it's in our course, Last 10 Times Longer. Go to sexreimagine.com/last dash the number 10 X dash longer.
And for all of our favorite listeners out there, we are giving you a discount, 20% off, y'all. Just put in podcast 20, all caps, podcast 20 to get your 20% off of this phenomenal course that you're going to want to review more than once.
We cannot wait to see you inside this course. Plus, don't forget, we always got tons of bonuses. See you there. Most people think Tantra is either some ancient mystical secret reserved for monks on a mountaintop or a fancy word for really long sex. But honestly, neither of those are the full picture. Welcome to the Sex Reimagine podcast. My name is Leah Piper, and I am with Dr. Willow Brown. And today we are going deep into one of our absolute favorite topics. You guessed it, Tantra. Specifically, your questions about Tantra sex.
So tune in, turn on, and fall in love with Tantra and us.
Welcome to the Sex Reimagine podcast, where sex is shame-free and pleasure-forward. Let's get into the show.
Okay, so we've got some great questions that have been coming in. Today we're doing Tantra and sex. I know there'll be lots of other categories, so be sure to listen for new episodes coming out this summer.
You know, in the last week or so, I've probably talked to 3 or 4 potential new clients. And when I asked them the question, so have you studied Tantra? Do you know much about it? What do you know about Tantra? 3 of them have said, well, I know Sting practices it. I'm like, okay, so you don't know anything. Which is great. Great place to start. Yeah. So one of these questions that I want to kick us off with today that came in from a listener is, I've been curious about Tantra for a while, but every time I look it up, I get 2 completely different things. One version seems deeply spiritual, and the other one seems like it's just about sex. So can you help me understand the difference and which one is actually Tantra? Leah, let's let you start on that one.
So I'll start by saying that we have classical Tantra, which tends to be more spiritual in nature. They don't tend to emphasize the sexual practices that are known in neo-Tantra, which is kind of like the new Tantra. And what I was taught is that Tantra reincarnates from age to age, depending on what the culture needs. So having been someone who's immersed herself in more of the neo-Tantra practices, so much of the emphasis in the things that I've learned have really centered around sexual healing. And I think that that's not a mistake if we're looking at it from the lens of it reincarnating from age to age, depending on the culture. Because when you see our statistics for sexual trauma in our world, we're looking at 1 in 3 women and 1 in 4 men. So we're really being impacted with this deep desire for sexual healing. Also, most of our listeners have been either in or been parented by a lot of baby boomers who went through the sexual revolution. And I would say our generation, Gen Xers and millennials, are been really experiencing the sexual evolution. And so we've got healing that needed to happen as a result of the sexual revolution. And that's kind of what I feel like culture's doing now in regards to all these somatic therapies that are all of these embodiment therapies that are helping people unwind. So that's my first answer, and I'm sure we'll riff a little bit back and forth.
Yeah, I mean, what I would add is the word itself, Tantra, not to be pronounced Tantra, my friends. Tan is a color. Tan is the Sanskrit word that means expansion. And tra is a tool. So Tantra is a tool for expansion, or a tool for weaving more consciousness into your life. So what Tantra does spiritually is it brings you into a state of union with yourself, with God, with nature, with another person. And that union gives you a mirror to look into. And when you look into that mirror, you see parts of yourself. And some of these parts you see you don't like, and some of them you do like. And the ones that you don't like, you hopefully get to work on. And then you evolve spiritually. So that is what Tantra can bring when you're living a tantric life and you're in an attuned state of union with almost everything you're doing. That means you're in this state of possibility. You're in a state of expanded awareness. You know, you're not stuck in the ego mind of, I don't have, I need to figure this out. All the stressful kind of like contractive thoughts that so many people swim in. So walking a tantric path is a spiritual path. When you bring Tantra into union with another person, and that includes sexual play, then what you're doing is you're expanding the possibilities of what sex is, which is why we named our podcast Sex Reimagined, because so many of us learn that, like, you know, in and out, penetrative sex, that's what sex is. Oral sex, that's what sex is. And I think so many people are not having that much fun with the sex that they've learned. And so Tantra opens up a lot more possibility, a lot more curiosity, a lot more exploration for pleasure and sensation. And there's a real healing element that comes with tantric sex, because what you're healing ultimately is old constructs, old limiting beliefs that society has placed on you for a long time, many generations, as Leah was speaking to earlier. And I think that they go really hand in hand, whether you're doing Tantra as a spiritual practice or Tantra as a sexual practice, they pretty much can be one and the same.
Yeah, a lot of people will say that the sexual part of Tantra is just one part of the pie that makes the whole. And so, you want to find Tantra teachers that really are a match for where you are right now in your life. You can practice Tantra and be celibate. And that is a beautiful, worthy, and awesome path. And you can practice Tantra and be wildly polyamorous. And that is also a wonderful and valid path. They're doing the same thing. They're cultivating sexual energy, and they're applying it to different parts of one's life. You're taking sexual energy, and like the Taoists, you might be moving it up into the organs, the skin, or the glands in order to increase your longevity and your vitality and heal the body from what ails you. You're also going to take that same sexual energy and, become prayerful with it. Learn to draw it up and transmute it if you're not using it to share with a partner or to experience your own orgasmic pleasure. You may be taking that orgasmic energy and fueling it towards your spiritual goals. And then other people are going to take that sexual energy and they're going to cultivate it so that they can feel tremendous amounts and waves after waves after waves of orgasmic bliss and sensation. One thing I think, though, you should be mindful of is if you're looking at neo-Tantra, I would be making sure that whatever school or individuals you go to learn from, that they're bringing two types of Tantra to the table. One is white Tantra, the other one is red Tantra. White Tantra is your solo practice. It's your yoga, it's your pranayama, it's breathing and meditating and cultivating presence and awareness and having intimacy with yourself. It's the thing you practice. So it's like practicing your instrument so that you're good enough to make music with the band. And then red Tantra is the practice that you share with someone else. That's going to be the sexual practices, where you're going to go and treat sexuality and rituals as if it is a meditation in and of itself. It is seen as like a prayer between bodies, this sexual sacred lovemaking. And it's not the only thing you can have in the bedroom. You can have a full range of sexual exploration beyond Tantra. You don't have to be some sort of Tantra purist. You can, in fact,
We
we
still have quickies. Don't
yeah,
worry.
you can have all the
You can
fast food
still
sex you
fuck like
want.
rabbits. It's
You can
fine.
have all the gourmet sex you want. You can have all the kinky sex you want. That's again bringing it back to Sex Reimagined. I know for me and my desire for this podcast is because, been so impacted by Tantra, but I also wanted to richen my experience in sexuality by learning all sorts of different areas and corners to play in. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
which we have done over the course of this podcast. I'm very
Yes, we
proud of
have.
us. We have
Yeah.
explored many, many things and done many, many things we had never done before when we started this podcast. So it's a fun journey. Sexuality is like, if you think about it like your playground, it's like the place where adults get to go and party and have fun and play and get curious and heal and let go of old constructs, as we have mentioned many times. Okay, let's dive into the next question.
Great.
So this was a really good one because I think this is super common. And it says, my boyfriend finishes really fast and it's become a source of shame for him and a source of frustration for me. Someone told us that Tantra could help him learn to last longer. Is that actually true? And where would he even start?
Oh my God, this has probably been the most rewarding part of my private practice working with men is helping them overcome premature ejaculation and giving them the empowering experience of ejaculatory choice where they don't feel like they're a victim to their body. They feel like they can be in control of their body. And I think from what all the medical people that we've interviewed over the years, I still believe Tantra is the number one place to go to learn ejaculatory control. There's not a lot that doctors have been able to figure out yet. I mean, they'll go as far as to prescribe SSRIs, antidepressants, so that you numb out your feeling, or these numbing sprays that just don't work.
Let's take a quick break. Hey guys, what would it be like if you could last 10 times longer when you're having sex?
We are going to teach you how to gain massive confidence as a lover, all without performance anxiety, gimmicks, or prescription.
This course is perfect for you if you've ever been mortified by a sexual encounter that ended way too early.
Or if you've ever avoided intimacy out of fear that you won't last as long as your lover desires. Or maybe you long to give your partner multiple orgasms but can't last long enough to make that a reality.
Well, good news, we've got your back. And it's in our course, Last 10 Times Longer. Go to sexreimagined.com/last the number 10 X longer.
And for all of our favorite listeners out there, we are giving you a discount, 20% off, y'all. Just put in podcast 20, all caps, podcast 20 to get your 20% off of this phenomenal course that you're going to want to review more than once.
The link is in the show notes. We cannot wait to see you inside this course. Plus, don't forget, we always got tons of bonuses. See you there.
Yeah, I mean, it's really better to learn how to breathe and sound because those are the main two dials that are going to give you a sense of control. A lot of times you'll hear the word ejaculatory control out there in the world, but we like to use the word ejaculatory choice because it's not really fun to control things. We do enough controlling of shit in our lives.
Yeah.
And so when we're at choice, that means we can dial ourselves a little bit higher on the arousal scale with a simple breath or a simple sound, or we can dial ourselves back down if we want to prolong our orgasmic bliss and pleasure that we're in the middle of. So we actually have a course called Last 10 Times Longer. That would be a great place for your boyfriend to start. And it would be great for you to watch it with him because then you can support your partner. One of the things that's really helpful is for partners of people who are having premature or early ejaculation is for them to know how to support and how to gauge and how to attune to when they're getting too close and how to dial them back down. So both of you can learn how to play with their ejaculatory choice. And then when both of you are on track and doing that together, he can really learn how to prolong his orgasmic pleasure, ride those higher levels of arousal on the arousal scale. You've probably heard us talk about the arousal scale, but if you haven't, 1 is like, I'm relaxed, I'm a little slightly turned on, and 10 is like, oh my God, I'm going to come right now. So many, many, many men are going from like a 6 or a 7 to a 10. So they're really kind of missing those upper ranges. And so what we do a lot in teaching them how to have ejaculatory choice is how to stretch out all of the numbers on the arousal scale and how to hang out, longer in those higher levels of arousal, because those are the places where your consciousness starts to expand. That's where spiritual downloads can come through. That's where you start to see yourself as more capable. You start to step into a new level of confidence. And those are the sort of tantric practices that will change the rest of your life as well.
The other thing that I really love that works so well is understanding that there are different pressure points in the body that you can press to help regain control when you're in the heat of the moment. And then there's also like tapping. You can tap your heart, you can scratch your head, you can open your eyes, you can slow down your breathing. There's all these methods that are going to help you delay ejaculation and have you kind of come back from the edge of the waterfall. The most important key is that you don't wait until the feeling I could come soon to do one of these techniques. You want to do a technique a little bit before you absolutely need it. A lot of men are riding too close to the edge and then they're unsuccessful even when they use a technique. And so in Last 10 Times Longer, we go through an entire sequence so that you can find which technique works the best for your body, how to figure out your early warning system so that you get the signal right every time, and then how to play your pleasure like a musical instrument, sort of like tantric edging, if you will, where you get close to the waterfall, but then you cool down, closer to the waterfall and cool down. And what a lot of men start to experience quite quickly is that they can separate ejaculating from orgasm so that they can have non-ejaculatory orgasms. And those are like freebies. So they don't cost you any energy. They don't wipe you out. So you really learn how to surf the Shakti waves, as we like to call it, so that you can ride a wave of pleasure and then you cut out of the wave before you get wiped out. So to find more information on Last 10 Times Longer, I believe there's a coupon code to get a discount on that course in the show notes on the website, but you can buy the course at sexreimagined.com/courses. Just look for Last 10 Times Longer. Thanks for the question. That's always a good one.
Yeah, definitely. So many people could benefit from learning those tantric tricks and tools. Okay, next question. I've heard you both mention tantric orgasms on the show, and I honestly don't fully understand what that means. I know what a regular orgasm feels like. What makes a tantric orgasm different, and is it something that anyone can actually experience?
Start us off with this one, Willow.
You want me to kick it off?
Yeah.
So tantric orgasms are just so much more fun than regular orgasms. I almost only have tantric orgasms at this point, but basically what we learn about regular orgasms, sometimes I have a quickie and that's nice too, but those tend to feel like really pooled in the genitals. They can be really fast. They can happen so quickly, it feels like a sneeze. They can just like pass you right by. Sometimes they can be really big and explosive, regular orgasms, but they are really, really felt in the clit or in the dick, like really, really felt in the genital area. Whereas when you play with tantric orgasms, you're actually spreading all of that sensation and arousal chi that is down in the genitals. You're spreading it up to different places in the body. You're spreading it up to the heart, you're spreading it up to the throat, you're spreading it up to the third eye, out to the fingers, out to the tips of the toes, and you're starting to experience your whole body as that clitoral head or as your cock. Your whole body gets this whole big reverberation. In the Taoist system, we actually draw orgasmic energy to specific glands in the body, specific organs in the body, and we call those superior orgasms, because when you have an orgasm in your heart or you have an orgasm in your pineal gland, it's extremely expansive, and a lot of times it can bring forth emotions. It can bring forth this crazy laughter. It can bring forth these like emotive releases. And sometimes it will bring forth like a shaking or a shuddering or a movement through the body, like an uncontrolled movement. And I always feel like whenever that happens, it's a release of some kind of trauma that doesn't necessarily need a story attached to it, or it's a release of some kind of limitation, some kind of limiting belief that has been, stuck in your soma, in your cellular body for quite a long time. So tantric orgasms are absolutely available to anyone who's walking around with breath in their body.
Yes, full body orgasms are totally possible, and everyone can train their body on how to have one. The key, like Willow said, I will echo her, is slowing down, breathing, and sounding. The key is to imagine, to use your imagination, to visualize that you can breathe your pleasure beyond your genitals. You can breathe sensation and that, oh my God, that is so sexy, that is so yummy. And then start like a short distance. Start by just kind of drawing it up to your belly button. See if you can make your lower belly feel like warm and filled with tingles. And then breathe it up like you could feel it in your breasts or your pecs. And imagine that you can feel more sensation from your genitals up to your nipples. And it can help to actually touch these zones as you're working with breathing it up your body. I love to stroke a cock with one hand and then stroke a finger with my other hand the same way I'm stroking a cock, with the same rhythm, the same tempo, and the same stroke, to help my partner go, yeah, my finger is feeling so fucking sexy right now because I can feel my cock at the same time. It's like then breathing it up into your throat and into your neck. Can you feel the pleasure that is in your clitoris at the back of your throat? Can you feel the pleasure that's in the tip of your cock into the palms and webs of your fingers? Can you now breathe it up into your third eye? Can you breathe it to the follicles of your hair? Can you take it down to your toes? And you just do this process by really getting present, paying attention to sensation, and using your breath and the sound of what the sensation is and carrying it. There's something about sounding that adds a vibration to your whole body. So if you try to do this by holding your breath, or if you try to do this and not utter a groan or a moan, you're never going to get there. You've got to be willing to have more breath control, slow everything down, make those inhales and exhales as long as you possibly can, and then yes, and like make some groaning, moaning sounds. It's only going to turn your partner on more. It's going to turn you on more. And there's just no shake around it. Sounding is how you increase the intensity of whatever sexy feeling is happening. And if, it's just, if you want better orgasms than everyone, breathe and sound, baby. And it'll carry throughout your whole body, and it'll feel like such a full body buzz.
That's right. Now, Leah mentioned white tantra earlier, and I think this is a good place. I have so many clients come through who just are too embarrassed to sound, or just for whatever reason, they won't make sound. Yeah. I'm not sure. I'm like, that's not a sound. That's a whisper. I can't hear you, And so I just am always trying to open the throat chakra for people. And what's fascinating is this whole throat, this whole girdle of like your jaw structure, your throat, your tongue, this whole pathway right here is a mirror image of your pelvic bowl, no matter what your gender is. And so there's something really, really powerful that happens when you open this, not to mention the vagus nerve is running right through here. So, making some sound and some vibration is gonna translate down into those nerve pathways that hits the genitals. And so back to white tantra, if you're somebody who's like, oh, I'm just way too embarrassed. I don't want to sound like a porno. I don't want to sound like a dork. I don't want to sound like a dying cat. Like I don't know what I want to sound like, and I'm too embarrassed. Go and do it on your own. Go pad the walls of your bedroom and get your vibrator out or get your lotion out and just start to play with yourself and start to play with opening your voice and opening sound, because as Leah said, you got to do it. So if it's embarrassing to you, try on your own.
Yeah, it's got pitch and frequency. And so it's how your body connects to what you're sensing.
All right, so let's dive into the next question. This one is about breath work and meditation. So this person wrote in saying that they've started with some breath work and a little bit of meditation after listening to our show. And I'm curious about going deeper into Tantra, but I'm an impatient person. How long before I actually start feeling something different in my body or my relationships? Well, my friend, I can absolutely relate to you. With Aries moon and rising, I too am an impatient person, and I always want to know, when is it going to happen? When are we going to get there? How long is this going to take? Can we get to the finish line, please? And I think that's one of the biggest things that Tantra has taught me, is how to let go of outcome, how to let go of agenda, how to let go of a finish line being there at all. So that might be the first thing to kind of practice, is finding the place inside of you that is impatient and getting a little bit more curious about why that's there. Is that actually yours? Was that taught to you by a parent? Is that something that you can learn to overcome? Because I think patience is actually one of the greatest virtues of a tantric life.
I think breath work, you can see immediate results. And that is because it helps you regulate your nervous system, helps you drop cortisol levels by shifting the adrenaline that's coursing through your system when you feel aroused. And I'm not just talking about sexual arousal, I'm talking about triggers, I'm talking about obstacles, I'm talking about anxiety. And one of the things that really kills great sex is anxiety. We come to it feeling, anxious, whether that's performance, whether maybe we're dating someone new and we're afraid we won't be impressive, a lack of confidence, self-esteem issues, body image issues. Maybe you and your partner have had a real dry spell and like getting started again feels really uncomfortable. And even if you're having regular sex, sometimes it's hard to get out of your head and you're so busy worrying that you can't drop in. So when you know some really simple breath work skills, it's going to be the thing that can help you regulate. And when you do it with a partner, then you can co-regulate each other, which is even better. It will help bond you. It'll help foster trust. It'll create a sense of intimacy and a willingness for more vulnerability, which just always makes sex better. So I always suggest that people start a breathwork practice where they just keep it really, really simple. Slow inhales, as slow as you can go. Each breath, you want your inhale to get slower and slower and slower, which is made possible because your cortisol levels are going to drop and drop and drop. Then when you exhale, you are also stretching the exhale out as long as possible. And this particular practice is done all through nasal breathing. You're inhaling through the nose and you're exhaling through the nose. Once you feel like you've got a really nice rhythm and you're starting to your shoulders are starting to relax, you're letting yourself feel more grounded, then you can increase your skill level by holding your breath at the top of the inhale. 3 or 5 seconds is plenty. And then at the bottom of the exhale, hold the breath out for 3 to 5 seconds. What that's going to do is it's going to teach you more breath control, which will come in handy in more advanced practices. Other meditations and breathing practices that are very efficacious and have research around them is box breathing. You can type into chat, teach me box breathing, and it'll get you started. It's another very, very simple breathwork practice. And, there's breathwork that has you breathing through the nose and out through the mouth. So you can really explore a lot of different techniques. I encourage you to go to breathwork classes. In fact, Stevie,
Right.
right? Yeah, we
Yeah.
did an episode with her, episode
And
1.
she has a great membership. Yeah. She's got a breathwork membership online. It's really great. She's an awesome breathwork teacher.
Yeah.
Check her out. Not to mention, if you live in in a town where there's any yoga studios, they probably have breathwork workshops at that yoga studio, and it's great to build community. I'm always encouraging my clients to go to breathwork because so many of us are walking around living in our prefrontal cortex all the time, trying to figure out this life path. And it's really helpful to get into your body and out of your head. So breathwork is one of the quickest paths to that, as well as chanting is another really quick path, or just singing. If you're someone who likes to sing or even doesn't like to sing, or humming, all of that gets you into your body more. And that is what's going to give you a more tantric experience within sexuality. So meditation is lovely when you can get out of your head. But when you're stuck in your head, it's very frustrating to sit down and try to meditate. So anytime that I go for meditation and want to clear and empty my mind, I always do breath work or chanting or like some kind of vigorous exercise like running or jumping or something before I sit down, because moving the energy through your body actually gives you the opportunity to quiet and still the mind, because then you can actually drop into more sensation. You can be like, oh wow, I feel buzzing, I feel a tingling, I feel some energy, circulation in my toes that I don't usually feel. And you're paying more attention, you're attuning to the sensations in your body, which is where Tantra lives, attuning to sensations in your body and letting go of the chitter chatter and the monkey mind of the mind.
Yes, that's one of Tantra's biggest gifts in the bedroom, is harnessing your mind and getting it to get present, and breathing and learning how to relax and connecting deeply with yourself and a partner, getting yourself grounded and centered is a gift that will affect every sector of your life in a really holistic and powerful way. So, because it's all over the great wide web, that meditation is so important for our well-being. There's been so many studies on it. So this is just one way to bring in the power of meditation into your sex life. And it's why Tantra is so popular, because it, in and of itself, is what has transformed so many people's experience of pleasure and intimacy and healing. So give it a whirl. We actually have a breathwork masterclass that talks all about this and gives you a lot of great breathwork instructions and practices. It's called Breathwork for Better Orgasms. Again, you can find it at sexreimagine.com/courses. And I think it's like $55. It's a pretty affordable masterclass. Go check it out. Go check it out. Can I get words out of this mouth today? Jeez, oh Pete. It's hard to be a radio personality when your mouth is filled with marbles. So with that, we will put me out of my misery, and we hope that it puts you into a fabulous morning, day, or evening, wherever and however you're listening to Sex Reimagined.
Write in your questions to support at Sex Reimagined, and we will be sure to answer them as we can. And we so love supporting you on your sexual reimagining journey. So all questions are fair game.
Au revoir.
Thanks for tuning in. This episode was hosted by Tantric sex master coach and positive psychology facilitator Leah Piper, as well as by Chinese and functional medicine doctor and Taoist sexology teacher Dr. Willow Brown. Don't forget, your comments, likes, subscribes, and suggestions matter. Let's realize this new world together.
Awaken Arousal Oil is my new best friend. Like Laura says, holy forking shirt balls, did it deliver on its promise. I could feel the blood flow and warmth, and that was the easiest I've ever achieved multiple orgasms. This is all natural botanical oils. It is made with CBD because CBD helps relax muscles and it eases tension. This stuff smells so good and it mixes with your pheromones like mwah, so good. Get yourself some. Link is in the show notes.